Is Bear really a therapist? Is Masha wise beyond her years? What do fairy tales have to do with Bear? Let's see if we can get some answers. Hello, Masha fans! I hope you're ready to find out something new about Masha and her bear friend today. Most people watch Masha and the bear for the laughs, the chaos, and to quietly reassure themselves their child isn't quite that unhinged. But what no one tells you is that Bear's silence isn't just because he's emotionally shattered. It's actually the most important parenting lesson ever animated. Today, we're looking at 3 hidden things in Masha and the Bear that prove this cartoon is secretly a work of genius. By the end, you'll never look at Bear's size the same way again. And you might even start recognizing them in yourself. Sorry in advance. Hidden thing number 1. Every single episode follows the same psychological pattern. And no, it's not laziness. It's emotional science wrapped in jazz music. There are 3 phases: curiosity, chaos, and calm. Phase 1. Curiosity. Masha spots something new and instantly decides to ruin it. It's the purest form of childhood curiosity, like watching a small scientist with no safety goggles and zero fear of consequences. Phase 2. Chaos. She acts on impulse, Bear suffers, and physics gives up. The house explodes, the garden floods, or the animals stage a coup. It's like the Great British Bake Off if everyone forgot the oven was on fire. Phase 3. Calm. This is the resolution. Bear doesn't shout or punish. He just sighs, fixes everything, and quietly questions his life choices. Sometimes Masha helps, sometimes she doesn't, and sometimes she simply falls asleep mid-apocalypse. But here's where it gets clever. This pattern mirrors actual child psychology. Kids go through the same emotional loop: impulse, meltdown, repair. And Bear, bless him, models co-regulation, staying calm so the child learns to calm down too. Psychologists call this healthy emotional development. Parents call it holding it together until bedtime. What's fascinating is that this structure is predictable, but kids actually need predictability. It creates safety. They know Masha will destroy something. They know Bear will have an internal crisis. And they know everything will somehow be fine in the end. That's not boring storytelling. That's emotional stability with cartoon violence. It's the same reason kids demand the same bedtime story every single night for 6 months straight. Repetition isn't tedious to them, it's comfort. To us, it's slow psychological torture, but to them, peak entertainment. Even Bear's silence plays a role. Because he rarely speaks, kids learn to read his facial expressions and body language. His sighs, his raised eyebrows, that 1,000-yard stare into the void. It's basically emotional education taught through slapstick. Think about how rare that is in children's TV. Most shows spell everything out, with characters literally announcing, "I feel sad now," or "that makes me angry." But Masha and the Bear trusts kids to interpret emotion without a color-coded feelings chart. It's teaching emotional intelligence through observation, which is exactly how children actually learn in real life. By watching the adults around them trying not to completely lose it in the frozen food section at Tesco. So yes, it looks like chaos, but really, Bear is performing silent cognitive behavioral therapy in a waistcoat. Speaking of waistcoats, it would be a waste not to subscribe. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Okay, that was a stretch. But you should probably subscribe anyway. Hidden thing number 2. Masha and the bear isn't just some random fever dream for toddlers. It's actually built on Russian folklore. And once you know that, everything makes sense. Well, sort of. It's based on the traditional story Masha I Medved, where a little girl gets lost in the woods and ends up living with a bear. Basically Hansel and Gretel, but with fewer ovens and more emotional damage. But the show's creators did something brilliant. They modernized the folktale without absolutely butchering it. In the original story, Masha tricks the bear to escape and return home. In the animated version, she never wants to leave. Because Bear isn't her captor, he's her chosen family. Or possibly her hostage, depending on the episode. That shift? That's profound. It transforms an escape story into a story about belonging and property damage. Mostly property damage. Masha represents the holy fool, a beloved archetype in Russian stories. She's chaotic, naive, and completely uncontrollable, yet somehow brings wisdom and transformation wherever she goes. She's what would happen if philosophy wore a tutu and shouted constantly. And Bear? He's not just there for slapstick. He represents the protective guardian figure. Strong, patient, misunderstood, and perpetually exhausted. Essentially, he's the spirit animal of every parent who's ever tried to child-proof a house only to realize the child is smarter than the locks. Even the details are deliberate. The samovar Bear uses for tea, that's a traditional Russian urn. Masha's headscarf, cultural icon. Bear's cozy wooden home, a dacha. Basically the Russian version of escaping the city to shout into a hedge in peace. And that forest setting isn't random either. In Russian folklore, the forest represents transformation, the place where magic happens and characters learn life lessons. In Masha and the Bear, that just means somewhere Masha can break things in new and creative ways. So while your kids think they're watching slapstick chaos, they're actually absorbing a crash course in Russian cultural heritage. Congratulations! It's technically educational. You can relax, Karen. Alright, hidden thing number 3. Bear's silence isn't just personality, it's philosophy. In a world where everyone's yelling online about literally everything, Bear chooses silence. Just a few sighs, grunts, and the occasional noise that sounds like someone politely giving up. But that silence, it's power. There's a saying, silence is golden, and Bear proves it. He doesn't need to explain, justify, or lecture. Every sigh and side-eye says, I'm coping, but only just. Bear is the picture of emotional restraint. Masha, on the other hand, is pure energy, chaos, and curiosity. Basically, caffeine with legs. Together, they balance each other out. Masha brings joy and spontaneity to Bear's order. Bear brings patience and quiet stability to Masha's storm. It's chaos theory meets mindful parenting. And what's truly lovely is Bear never tries to change her. He doesn't say, stop being so loud, or maybe don't ride a pig indoors. He just lets her be, while gently keeping her alive. That's not indifference, that's unconditional love with an insurance deductible. Compare that to most children's shows where the lesson is about fixing the child's behavior. Bear never sits Masha down for a chat about inside voices or respecting other people's samovars. He doesn't tell her to be quieter, calmer, or more convenient for the adults around her. He accepts her exactly as she is. A tiny hurricane in a headscarf with the energy of a small nuclear reactor. And just adapts his entire life around her chaos. That's not teaching a child to behave. That's teaching a child they're worthy of love, even when they're a complete nightmare. Which, let's face it, is most of the time. So Bear's silence isn't just him being tired, though, let's be honest, he definitely is. It's a message. Sometimes the best way to handle chaos isn't to shout louder. It's to be still, stay kind, and trust that the noise will pass. Eventually. So there you go. 3 hidden things in Masha and the Bear that prove this cartoon is way smarter than anyone gives it credit for. It's a modern folktale, a psychological masterclass, and a philosophical meditation, all disguised as a show about a small child committing property damage in the woods. Next time you see Masha launch Bear into orbit, remember, you're not just watching chaos, you're watching art. Possibly the best parenting tutorial ever made, and definitely cheaper than therapy. So, what do you think? Did you spot any of these before, or have I just ruined your child's favorite show by making it existential? Let me know in the comments. And remember to subscribe. Don't overthink it. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm off to start a GoFundMe for Bear's well-deserved spa retreat, preferably somewhere far away from small, energetic humans.